American consumers have saved big money at the gas pump this year to the tune of, look at that, $38.4 billion. And they are driving more. A new National Safety Council report showed traffic fatalities rose by 9% in the first 6 months of this year. But are the days of cheap gas numbered as we approach the Labor Day holiday? Let's bring in Tom Kloza, Chief Oil Analyst at OPIS. All right, Tom, I'll ask the question everybody's wondering. Should we enjoy gas prices where they are now? Are they going higher?
They're not going higher this year. This year's going to end the way it began, with very, very low numbers. But I think in each subsequent year of the decade, we'll probably trend a little bit higher. We'll go back to the numbers we saw after the Arab Spring from 2011 to 2014. But this glut doesn't last forever.
So that glut is responsible for these low prices that we have been seeing.
Right.
I mean, what's going to change?
What's going to change is supply is going to tighten. You've got a lot of projects. You might have a 5-year term for a project that's $20 billion or whatever in West Africa, and those projects aren't getting funded. So each field tends to sort of deplete at a rate of nearly 5% a year, so you need to keep finding new oil. Plus, we're seeing demand increases in emerging countries of, somewhere on the order of 1.2 million barrels a day. The United States, we're close to the saturation point. But if you live in China, India, Vietnam, Southeast Asia.
Here's the price that gas overnight, AAA reporting that we're at $2.19 a gallon. Everybody's kind of wondering, where did all this extra money go? Americans saved $40 billion from these low gas prices, but we can't really figure out where that was spent.
That is the $150 billion question. Absolutely the question. We don't know where it's going. We don't
answer it, Tom. You know more about gas prices than anybody.
A lot of restaurants have done well. So that retail segment has benefited, and the C-stores have done well. People are coming inside to get the
travel, leisure.
Yeah, but also healthcare has gone up. So you look at that. I mean, Fidelity came out with a report last week that's saying it's up 6% this year alone. So they're recommending everybody keep saving more as baby boomers start to retire. Yeah,
that offsets it. I mean, there's some businesses like airlines. Airlines are paying $1.80 less for jet fuel than they paid 3 summers ago. And yet, when I travel, I'm treated, they advertise the gymnasts on the Olympics, and I need to be a gymnast and contort to get into those seats.
All right, so let's talk about the root of those gas prices, and that is the price of oil.
Right.
Do you like oil at these prices? I mean, we've been hovering between $40, $50 a barrel.
I like it 12 months from now, and 15 and 24 months from now. I don't like it in the next 3 months, because we're going to cut refinery runs, we're going to use a little bit less crude, and I think it's the triumph of hope over reason in terms of OPEC and non-OPEC countries actually having an agreement.
Can I just ask you about, there was a story in the Wall Street Journal saying that some of these shale producers, because oil had moved back up closer to $50 a barrel, they were looking at restarting production or looking at increasing production potentially. Is that going to, again, as soon as you get a tick up in prices, supply comes back online, is that going to keep oil prices muted?
That'll help. It's a small part of the world, and it'll help. It'll mean we'll probably export more crude oil. But that's mostly West Texas. That's the Permian Basin. If you're in North Dakota, if you're in the deep water in the Gulf of Mexico, not so much. It's tough to find it for, and make money at $50. You can make money at $35 in some of these other places.
All right, so we're at $2.19 a gallon today in the U.S. for a gallon of gasoline. Where will we be Labor Day weekend?
Labor Day weekend will be about the same. Election Day will be about $2 or less.
Okay.
Wow. And then next year we go higher.
$2. That could be fun.
It could be.
I guess if the reasons
Come
behind
to New Jersey.
It
We got $1.75 right now.
And they pump it for you.
Until they hike gas taxes, are they doing that?
That's going to happen. Our gelatinous governor wants a gelatinous tax. So
I don't know. I disagree with you on your gelatinous governor. I think he doesn't want to be responsible for any kind of tax hike between now and the day he leaves office.
Particularly one that's regressive that hits lower income people.
Oh, he doesn't care about that. He just doesn't want to raise taxes. It's not like he really cares about lower income people. But.
All right, Tom Kloza, $2 gasoline by Election Day.
Probably.
That's a big call. All right, thank you very much, sir.